nobody is teaching on the internet, trust me, I already looked, is how to truly repair your own credit leveraging ChatGPT, right? Like,
Oh wow.
credit repair companies are leveraging ChatGPT, right? But they're charging you monthly. The whole goal of Credit Lift is so that you, Julian, you never have to go to another credit repair company ever again. You never have to pay anybody for corporate credit establishment. You don't have to pay 10% of the amount of funding that you get access to because you use the funding company. That's highway robbery, in my opinion. You have all the blueprints right there to follow. And then you should never have to pay a travel concierge service ever again because you're going to learn exactly how to do it yourself.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Julian Castle. I have an incredible guest today. His name is Scotty Tregellas. He's a real estate investor, entrepreneur, and a credit expert. He's closed deals in all 50 states and has helped secure over $50 million in funding for businesses. And he's a master at leveraging credit and for real estate deals. So today he's going to break it all down for us. Scotty, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Julian.
Awesome, man.
About time
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. I know you've been at me for a while, man. I've been all over the place, traveling and whatnot, taking care of clients and getting shit done.
Absolutely, and I understand like having the ability to do credit means that you get to have a lot of travel benefits, which means that you're always on the move and doing all these things. So we totally understand. We're glad we get you on the show. Just borrow you for a couple of seconds, from your valuable client base. So tell us, Scotty, how'd you let's start with your story. Like, how'd you first get into real estate investing?
Yeah, I actually grew up watching my stepdad develop homes all over the country. So we lived in Las Vegas, like in the 90s. I was super young and watched him like develop Henderson and Summerlin, all these wealthy neighborhoods. And then they moved us out to South Carolina. So we lived out there. He developed like Hilton Head Island. So just growing up watching him build beautiful homes, it kind of instilled a love for real estate. And, fast forward, I had a crazy, crazy traumatic childhood and teenage years, in and out of juvie, boys' homes, drug busts, really, really messed up childhood and life. But obviously that's not an excuse for anything because instilled in my brain, I knew I wanted something bigger. Like I just like mentally outgrew where I was as a person in the growth perspective. But I also matured very late, man. I didn't realize like the possibilities out there in the world until I almost died, right? Sometimes you just have to have that traumatic event to be like, okay, you need to get your shit together and realize there's better things out there for you. Well, I was in a really bad motorcycle accident in 2015.
Uh-huh.
I wrecked going over 130 mile an hour and I couldn't walk or work for like a year. And during that time, man, I destroyed my credit, lost my home, I lost everything. And not that I had like a lot anyways, but when you don't have much and you lose it all, it's pretty traumatic, right? And
It's traumatic.
in the process, I destroyed my credit. And a friend of mine was getting into real estate. He was developing homes down in Texas. He wanted to get me involved with it. I was like, heck yeah, I want to do it. He's like, you need to repair your credit and we're going to leverage business credit and get access to funding and this and that. I'm like, awesome. Well, let's do that. So $500 was a lot of money to me back then. So I paid $500 for a guy to repair my credit and never heard from him ever again. Right. And it's like,
Wow.
okay. But remember, like when you have this like killer mentality of knowing just like God has something bigger for you out there, you have to focus on that, not the hurdles that you have to jump over to get there, right? And so I wasn't going to allow someone stealing $500 from me to stop me from achieving my goal of getting into real estate. So I started studying like the FCRA laws, the CFPB laws, watching YouTube, while working 10 hours a day as like a welder. And in listening to books and whatnot. So it was a good balance between like real estate and then like credit. Well, I was studying real estate because I wanted to get into real estate, but I was studying credit to repair my own credit. And within 2 months, I removed all the collections, late payments, and all the inquiries and added 2 authorized user trade lines and went from a 532 to a 741 in less than 2 months. And I was like, oh, okay,
Wow.
there we go. It's real. And then
Yeah.
I got access to a couple credit cards, just personal credit cards. And I didn't know anything about like business credit at the time or anything like that. But I maxed out these 2 credit cards to invest into my first mentorship program, right? And this
Yeah.
was, I think, 2017, 2018. And it was Cody Sperber's.
Mm,
So I paid
okay.
$10,000, and in that course it says at least have $1,000 available for some sort of marketing. So I used
Yeah.
$1,000 for direct mail in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and
Yeah.
then the very next month made $80,000. At the time, I was homeless because I was going through a breakup, living in a camper in the middle of the woods in southeast Kansas, had no money, had a vehicle I couldn't afford because I had that good credit score. And so it
Yeah.
wasn't working. My bank accounts were negative. And then I closed $80,000 the very first month in wholesaling. And it just kind of took off from there. And it was balancing like credit, okay, doing this for friends, and then really scaling my real estate company and taking over the Oklahoma market as far as wholesaling.
Uh-huh.
And then shortly after that, I started focusing on major packages and dealing with like hedge funds and stuff like that, like assigning apartment complexes, hotels, and resorts, and like $100 million deals.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and I lost $2.4 million the month of COVID. And
Oh, damn.
again, another traumatic event. But why like I love credit so much is because the first traumatic event I went through, credit got me out of it. The second
Mm,
traumatic event going through COVID, as most business owners did during that time, credit got me out of it. I had access to hundreds of thousands of dollars in available credit. So I was able to keep my marketing machine going, my wholesale operation going. So that way, when the world did start back up, my deals were going to be closing and pending close, right? So
yeah.
it was a roller coaster from there, and that's when like the investor lift platform, the dispo platform came out. My good friend Nick Perry started his like seven figure cartel mentorship, and they
Mm,
taught me how to really wholesale nationwide. So ended up scaling nationwide, closing deals in every state, making millions of dollars a year through that, and here we are. I've just always kind of been the guy in real estate that knows credit.
yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I've been working with the top wholesalers and real estate investors and really leaning more into like just traditional business owners these days of
Mm,
helping them get good credit, helping
yeah.
them get access to more 0% interest credit, and then helping them travel for free. Because that's one thing I get a lot is like, wait, these guys are worth $100 million. You have
Yeah.
four billionaire clients. What do they need credit for? Yeah, but it's cool that you can afford to travel in luxury, but it's even cooler when you don't have to pay for it, right? And it's just a
Yeah.
game. It's just a game, right? So it's like I'm helping successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and real estate investors leverage credit to play the game, travel for free, get access to the funding, and scale their businesses.
That's amazing, man. And wow, I wanna commend you for your journey. It's a great one to share. And I just wanna. It seems like from like your story, you have had mentors in your life, like or when you first started with Scotty Sperber, and then you did Nick Perry, and then you always had kind of like you were around the circle of people that were doing big things. It sounds like. And
Yeah,
so I want to
yeah.
just talk about that. Like, why is that important? Or not what was so important about that, that helped you succeed?
As I got into nationwide wholesaling and virtual wholesaling around the same time most people did. I was kind of at the
Mm,
front of the line, so I was in just naturally in that circle of the people doing $250,000 a month plus, right? All the top 50, 150 to 100 wholesalers, and just I didn't realize the power of network at the time. It was still new to me. I'm from Oklahoma, right? You're only
mm,
your mindset is only as big as the bowl that you're in, and Oklahoma's very
yeah,
limited. But being in that network really allowed me to see the bigger picture of, hey, I need my mindset and my vision needs to grow outside of Oklahoma, and being around people like Nick Perry and telling me what's possible nationwide, and having people like Robert Winsley say, hey, no, you're spending $50,000 a month in PPC, but you're wasting 40,000. You need to do this, and
mm,
then having people with so much experience just willing to just pour value into me because I'm also providing a service to them, right? It's an
yeah,
even trade of value, and I think the biggest factor that laid on me being around these people is one, just knowing what's possible. It's easier to chase a vision when you see that it's real. And then you have people in your circle, not really to learn from, but like learn what to do, but learn what not to do. That's the most important thing, is to understand what not to do. And that's what's really helped me.
Wow, amazing, amazing, incredible. So okay, okay, you recommend people get business credit, obviously,
Yeah.
and scale this credit that they have. What do you recommend someone does, when they're first getting started? Like, let's say they want to go all in and do wholesaling, and they want to use credit, to boost that success, kind of leverage it. Like, what do you recommend for them to start doing?
Good question. So I'm going to repeat this because remember, it's good to know what not to do first, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so with wholesaling or any business owner, what you do not want to do is to start or scale your business relying on your personal credit, right?
Hmm.
That is an ever-ending doom scenario. And I can dive into the reasons why, but what you don't want to do is leverage your personal credit. You don't want to use personal credit cards to scale your business. Yes, it worked for me, but that was during a time in real estate where you could burn and turn deals pretty freaking easy with hedge funds, right?
Yeah.
And like now it's harder. The average turnaround is 60 to 90 days before your first deal. And marketing is so much more expensive and the competition is so much more. So with that, if you're leveraging personal credit, you're going to use up most of your utilization. And the way the scoring works is there's 5 scoring systems. And the first highest factor is on-time payments. So rule number one is you just never want to be late on anything. You can set minimum payments, make $35, $50 a month payments, and you won't get hit with a late payment. But what a lot of people don't know is the second highest scoring factor is credit utilization. So if you're using 30% or more of what you have available, so if you have $10,000 credit card and you're using 3,000 or more of it, not you can use more of it, but you don't want it to report on your credit, because once it reports, the algorithm is basically spitting out that like, hey Julian, it appears like you're desperate for funding. You're over leveraged. You're using more than what you have available that you should. So it drastically drops your scores. Now, why that's so important is because if your scores drop, then it prevents you from going out and getting more funding when needed, right? So, hey,
Yeah.
I have to increase my PPC or my marketing spend. Oh, hey, I have to, pay some employees. I have to pay for this software, and I don't have a deal closing for another 30 to 60 days. But hey, I could go out and get a $50,000 0% interest credit card to fund all that for 3, 6, 12 months without paying a single penny in interest. But because I over leveraged on my personal credit availability, I am now capped. I can no longer get access to that. So the first step is one, knowing what to do and what not to do with your personal credit. And then if it is like, I guess, late payments, you do have high utilization, your scores aren't 720 plus, if there's some sort of derogatories on there, you have to put all focus and attention on repairing your personal credit. Like your entire like financial health is risked on your personal credit. Like America is built on credit. There's these 3 major private entities. They are private. All right. Me and you could start our own today. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They're just private companies. They are the ones who determine whether you're credible or not to go out and get funding. So make sure that you're credible to them, and so that way you can always go out and get access to that. And then the second step would be establishing corporate credit. It's important that your business is just as credible as you personally. And then you've got double leverage. So you walk into Chase Bank and they say, "Hey, yeah, Julian, you make amazing money. You make $240,000 a year. You've got a 800 credit score, but wait, you want business funding? What business do you have?" You know? But if you go in there and say, "Hey, we've got all that data. Hey, in your business, it makes, 1.2 million plus a year projected income. It doesn't have to, it's just projected.
Yeah.
You're not in a high risk industry, right? Wholesaling. We don't want to put it as real estate because that's high risk. We want to put it as marketing and consulting. Less risk, more funding available to you. So, with having all those right data points, the business classifications and credibility around your business and you, that's double leverage. So my data, based off of thousands of clients, has shown you get access to 3 to 5 times more when you are leveraging both good personal credit and established corporate credit. And then the third step is, of course, those relationships with those banks. So you want to have a good relationship. Again, we're walking into Chase Bank. You can't walk into Chase Bank if they don't know you. You can't talk to a business relationship manager if you don't have a relationship with Chase, right?
Yeah.
And the best way to start a relationship with them is just by simply opening up a bank account, right? You don't have to carry a lot of money in there. You don't have to be super liquid, but just open up a business account with the right data points, the right projected income, the right NAICS code, and schedule a meeting with a relationship manager. And the biggest takeaway from that is when you go to apply for a credit card, you get to request your credit limit. And that's why I have so many credit cards with 50, 80, $100,000 limits, because I simply asked for it.
Wow. Okay. That makes sense. Wow. That's incredible. And someone that's coming in to do this, you know, is it easy for someone to open up a bank account and an LLC and then just start getting business credit right away? Or is there a seasoning period that needs to happen or something like that they need to do in order to get it?
Yeah. So to answer that, it all comes down to data. There's obviously thousands and thousands of different banks and thousands of different credit cards. Well, each bank has different requirements, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at, I kind of phase banks or classify banks in three kind of phases. One is top tier banks, stuff like Chase, Bank of America, U.S. Bank, right? The bigger banks that are everywhere. And then you have regional banks, ones that are only like, okay, here's Southeast, right? So it's like Florida, Georgia, right? Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, those areas. And then you have like West Coast banks and regional. And then you have local banks and credit unions, ones that are like, okay, maybe they're just in like Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, and Arkansas, like the 4 states that's in just a few cities, right? Maybe like 50 branches or whatever, So those are the 3 phases. And each type of bank has different underwriting requirements, right? So just knowing the requirements of that specific bank, if you have a business that's 2 months old, we know that you can go to these banks to get approved for funding. If you have a business that's 2+ years old, you know what? Let's skip the bullshit and go straight to the big dogs and get, $100,000 on one credit card, because we know their data that we need to put on the application and what their requirements are. So anybody can get approved for funding, but it's also a give some, take some game where it's like, hey, I have less credibility on the business, so therefore I need to provide more credibility on the personal side.
Right.
So if you walk into a bank or you can just apply online, you have a 850 credit score, a lot of personal credit limits, and you apply for a business credit card, it's pretty likely you'll get approved at the right banks.
Yeah.
Except for the top tier banks that require like personal relationships, like Bank of America. My credit score is 848. I have access to over $230,000 on just the personal credit side, and I always keep my utilization below 2%. That's reporting, and I didn't follow my own process. I'm getting cocky with my credit score. I didn't follow my own rules. And I just went and applied online at a Bank of America for a credit card, 0% interest, got denied. So I call in, I'm like, hey, why am I getting denied? Oh, we just don't know who you are. And you don't use enough credit. I'm like, well, I have a lot of corporate credit and I use business credit. Anything on the personal side, I go ahead and pay off every month. Like, okay, you know what? You're right. But at the end of the day, we just don't know who you are. You've had 0 transactions with Bank of America or any of our branch partners. Again, why having a relationship is so important to apply for funding. And again, it's just so many different data points and bank scenarios and underwriting rules that you just kind of have to know. But if you know those, you can just go straight to the source.
Amazing. Okay. So what's the game plan when it comes to like credit? You open up you get credit, right? But like, can you use it to spend for marketing on your wholesaling business, or can you use it as down payments, or just how is it used? Like, what do you teach your students to use it as? So
because I am in real estate, obviously I know how to leverage credit specifically for real estate. And it's not like my program, Credit Lift. I I go over all four topics. I'm the first person to teach everything credit and more. So to answer your question, I'll get to that because it's coming very soon. So it's like I
Yeah.
specialize in personal credit repair and establishment, corporate credit establishment, credit stacking and funding, and then optimizing that credit, and then travel hacking. And then on top of that, inside of my program, Credit Lift, is I have a program that I'm filming right now, how to leverage credit for real estate. Because that's how
Mm,
I've done it all these years, and that's how I've helped some of the biggest real estate investors. So
right.
let's cover just the marketing side from like a wholesale perspective, and then we'll go to like investor perspective. So on a wholesale side, you should 100% leverage credit because of the 90-day turnaround on average. So if you have access to, let's just be super conservative, $100,000 in 0% interest credit, but you only have $5,000 in the bank, and you use that $5,000 to buy this software, buy that software, okay, maybe $1,000 a month in ads or marketing, maybe you're doing PPL,
Yeah.
you don't close the deal. Now you're broke. You can't even continue on to month two, right?
Hmm.
You see that every single day, even with the big dogs, when there's a big change in like COVID or the interest rate spikes, people just crash and burn because they're trying to scale with liquid cash. And once that cash is gone and the deals stop coming, what happens? They turn to coaching. so So you do not want to use liquid cash to start or scale your business. Always leverage credit. That should be the priority because with $100,000 in available credit, you get to float your expenses at 0% interest for 12 months. And your minimum payment is 1% of the balance. So it's super, super affordable, but it allows you. Now I have $100,000. Break that down. Great. I've got $5,000 to $10,000 a month on average without any unexpected costs that I know that I can allocate to my company to scale. So that's why credit is so important on the wholesale side. And then, just to like optimize that, it's like knowing what cards to go get specifically for a wholesale operation. Yeah, 0% interest is super valuable and important when you're starting or scaling. But if you're already closing deals consistently, you're bringing in income, you can pay off your credit cards every month. Maybe that person's core focus isn't 0% interest, but it's more of like the free travel and the reward aspect, right? So anytime that I do a funding plan for someone, I have to understand, all right, Julian, how much are you spending on the personal side? How much are you spending on the business side? And then what are those expenses? And we can come up with a tailored credit stacking blueprint plan specifically for you that accomplishes both of your goals, right? And it's like, do you want cash back? Do you want travel rewards, right? And then I kind of explain the difference in the value of those. Sometimes people want both. So it's like we intertwine those. So with that in mind, is like, okay, wholesalers, if you're going to run marketing, you need to go out and get the Chase Inc. preferred card. So you're getting 3x rewards, travel rewards on every dollar that you spend in marketing and softwares and expenses. Or if you can pay it off every single month, go out and get the Amex Gold business card because now you're getting 4x those same categories, which then can be used for travel, which we could literally 10x the value of those 4x points, right? So again, it's just knowing what card to use and what expense, and then how to operate and manage that and like allocate those funds. Like we actually, my one-on-one clients, I will tell them, you need to use this card for this. Don't spend more than this. Pay it off on this day, you know? And then for like investors, so I've done this all the time, a lot in Oklahoma where you can buy a house for lower than $50,000 and go out and get a hard money loan. You got to pay 5, 10,000 down. They're going to fund 100% of the rehab. Well, easy. Yeah, we have cash, but why would I want to use my own cash? When I have a $50,000 credit card, or let's just be conservative, I have a $10,000 credit card over here. I'm going to liquidate that 10,000. Now I have $10,000 cash in my bank that is not mine. It's the bank's cash at 0% interest, and now I'm going to wire that cash to the title company for the down payment. You can't do that with a credit card, but you can turn that credit to cash. So that's super beneficial for investors. And if you don't want to use a hard money lender or they can't fund the whole deal, pay 20 grand down and then fund the flip on a credit card. Simple.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's incredible. It's just, I know that, there's always, they talk about the four forms of leverage: labor, capital, media, and code. and just having the credit is like you just got capital just all really just set up in a way that's great. I do want to talk about a little bit about your wholesaling business when you were doing this. You know, when you were like spending money on credit, like how'd you build this big operation to be able to make the millions of dollars that you were able to like how just give us a little bit of
Yeah. Well, so I was doing like the credit stuff on the side. It was just a natural interest, and I kept accumulating business credit and growing from there. So I always had access to this capital, and when my wife is a psychiatric physician, so she gets me with the mental stuff all the time. She's like, when you've had all this trauma and you've been at the bottom and you've had nothing to lose, you're willing to risk it all because you're not scared of what was. And I've always kind of had that mentality of, look, I know that I'm not scared of that, but if I risk this, I know that that's possible because of the network and the circle that I'm in. And so I just went all in on leveraging credit, closing my eyes and going all in and taking a leap of faith on myself and my operation to, you know what, we're going to scale nationwide. Oh shit, our $5,000 a month marketing expenses just went to $30,000 a month. Oh, that's okay. I can float that for a few months. We better hustle and bustle to get those deals closed so that pays off. But you know what? I have faith in my hustle and my ability to, fulfill and close those deals. So it was just always, whether we were liquid or not, it was just always, I had that available credit all the time to be able to invest into the next level of scale.
yeah. Okay, that's amazing. Wow, I mean, you're a risk taker for sure. Like that's just clear. And when it comes to, okay, so you built this team, right? Obviously, it's not just you working because if you're spending $30,000, you can't like possibly manage all these, this lead flow that's coming in. So you must have had some hiring, to do. And so when it comes to like building a wholesaling operation, like, can you give us a little bit of insight of how you built your team and how you were able to, to accomplish what you did?
Yeah. So really, there was at the stage of when we were really just focused in Oklahoma. Like my partner was focused on Tulsa, I was Oklahoma City, and we kind of like diversed there. One, we just started with cold callers. So we got 4 cold callers focusing on just those markets, and then it's like talking about me scaling nationwide during that era was okay. We've got everything dialed in, all of our KPIs in our local market. And what we kind of did is we split the whole nationwide and the local, right? Because, hey, we're not sure about this. This is new, but this is dialed in. Let's not break this because we're risking here.
Yeah.
So this was dialed in, running smoothly. We were consistent with like RVM, text messages, direct mail, and our cold callers. And then with PPC, okay, we're going to allocate 20,000, we're going to increment in $10,000 phases on our nationwide marketing. Well, it wasn't working out great. So we had the team of just the cold callers, and then I was the closer in Oklahoma City. My partner was a closer in Tulsa. So we were still the acquisition closers on that end. And then
Okay.
Dispo was just so easy, man. It's a small market, right? It was just burn and turn. We knew exactly who to call and text for this deal. But also at the time, hedge funds were buying like crazy. And then
Yeah.
we were also doing contract for deed, creative finance deals. So we would basically just be the bank for people. We did over 600 of those transactions. So just like selling the deal was super easy. It was just the acquisition side. So we had the marketing and we were closing. Boom, Dispo was easy. And then going on the nationwide side, we realized, okay, now we're starting to spread ourselves thin as far as like what we can really focus on. And it cost a lot of money, right? So I wasted probably like $60 to $80,000 in marketing when I first started nationwide, because I didn't understand like we need to dial in the markets and whatnot. This is right when Nick started teaching people nationwide. This is right when InvestLift started. I was one of the original users there. And I'm like, man, what the hell is going on? I'm getting crap leads. I'm not getting them under contract. I know what I'm doing. Like, what is this? And then if I am, I can't sell them. And that's when people like Robert Winsley, David Olds, Corey Geary, like really all the original InvestLift users, they're like, hey, no, you need to, who are you selling to? like we need to work backwards, and this kind of shaped the whole visionary perspective of mine. We need to work backwards. So, all right, first of all, who are we selling to? Hedge funds. Okay, where are they buying? Oh, these markets. All right, if they're buying in these markets, why are you running PPC outside of them? That's where all your money is being spent and lost. I'm like, oh, so I dialed in our PPC, and now what that did is it like consolidated all the liquid spending into a singular market. Now, when other people are spending, you know, $5,000 a month in that single market, I'm spending $10,000 a month in that market. So the lead flow started coming in, better deals, which were easily just burned and turned using invest to lift and selling to hedge funds. Now, when that concept started working, we're like, oh crap, we need to focus on that because it cost a lot, and we started making a lot more. And that's when we started hiring a team to kind of take over like the Oklahoma operation, right? And that's like it worked for me, just hyper focusing on your local market and being consistent in like the boring lead flow, like the cold calling, the direct mail, the door knocking, right? That's the boring stuff. But get consistent with that, $50 to $100,000 a month there, and then scale nationwide. But yeah, delegate that and then scale nationwide. That was kind of the concept that I followed, and it worked for me.
Wow. That's incredible. I love how, so you had your nest egg, right? And then you made sure you protected that nest egg until you had the new thing that was more risky working. And then that's when
Yeah,
you switched over. And yeah, the hedge funds, I mean, that must have been a great time to wholesale. I mean, things were
it
just
was so
flying off the
easy.
shelves.
Yeah.
That's cool. Cool. So, all right. Now, when it comes to, you know, credit, now, we talked about people having to have a marketing and consulting LLC,
Hmm.
them establishing their personal credit to a certain level, and also going to the right banks where the requirements are met so they can get the right, funding, at the
Hmm.
highest levels, right? Um, I've heard of different cards. You mentioned the Chase Ink and the Amex Gold. I've
Hmm.
heard of charge cards, which allow you to also like, I think you roll it over for 60 days, maybe even 90 days. Um, I guess what are the best cards to use, like when you're using this method of wholesaling, when you know that your cash conversion cycle is 30 to 90 days, if you're doing
Yeah.
depending on the strategy.
I love that question because people need to realize just because you can get approved for it doesn't mean you want it or need it. And that specifically what I'm talking about is charge cards. Now, charge cards is different. What is a charge card versus a credit card? A credit card, you have a set limit and you can use any amount of that limit, and you pay 1% of that balance if it's 0% interest, or upwards to 29% interest if it is interest, right? But you cannot
Yeah.
spend over that limit. But you can carry a balance. Now, with the charge card, that means you have to essentially pay off. It's kind of like a net 30 where I'm going to spend $10,000, but they expect you to pay that off every single month, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
you can really get dinged if you don't, right?
yeah.
Now, the bank I'm talking about most specifically with charge cards is Capital One. Amex. Everyone has the Amex Platinum. Everyone has an Amex Gold. You've got the Amex Plum. These are charge cards where it's kind of like a muscle. The more you work it, the more it grows. So the more you spend on these charge cards, and the more you pay them off, the internal algorithm is going to recognize that and say, okay, hey, Julian needs higher limits. He's spending 10,000 a month and paying it off twice. Okay, let's give him 20. Okay, let's give him 30, and it increases. Where I have a few clients who can spend over seven figures on this one credit card. I have several clients who spend six figures on a month just on one credit card. But the problem with wholesalers just starting off is it's easy to get approved for the MX Platinum and the MX Gold. You think it's some sort of status thing? It's not. It's super easy to get approved for those because they're charge cards. and
Mm,
But what happens is wholesalers will use these charge cards to fund their marketing, fund their expenses, and this and that, and then they're going to like interrupt the pattern of using it and paying it off, using it and paying it off. They carry a balance. So Amex is really strict on making sure that you're using it and paying it off consistently. And if you carry a balance, it's going to raise a red flag. They're going to look at your account, and because your utilization is down, they're going to drop your limits. I mean, look, I have a VIP client who just messaged me since we've been on here and said, Amex just dropped me down from like $27,000 to $1,700. So that's how like drastic of a drop that is. Now think about how detrimental that would be to your business if, hey, you're using 20,000 of that 27 and you were carrying a balance, you weren't paying it off every month, so they dropped that down to 1,700. Now you have a shit ton of balance that you have to pay off without even being able to leverage that card anymore. I see that every single day. So my advice to wholesalers is stay away from charge cards until you know that you can use it and spend it use it every month and pay it off every single month.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That beautiful answer there. Cool. All right. So, I know you talk about travel. This is kind of something, a lot of wholesalers are spending a lot of money and they're not getting rewards if they're, most of the time. So talk about travel for us. Like what is this like? You can stay at hotels for free or get business class flights for free, or what is this? Like, what is this secret little, method that you use?
So like I like how you said wholesalers are spending a lot of money, and it's like any business owner, you're really spending a lot of money, and what reward are you getting out of that, right? There is a front end reward where, hey, it's a 0% interest credit card. I get to carry a balance without paying interest. There's a reward there, but let's think even deeper. Like you pay rent, right, or mortgage, right? Okay,
Yeah.
whether it be an office space, a house, an apartment, condo, doesn't matter. You're paying rent or mortgage. What benefit does that get you? Yeah, it gets you your place, it gets you your office, but what benefit is there by paying that every month outside of that? So thinking of a credit card like the Built credit card, BILT, Built credit card rewards you 1 point per dollar spent on rent and mortgage. So if you pay your rent and mortgage with a credit card, you get a point. What does that point equate to? Well, that just happens to be a travel card where you can transfer those points out to travel partners. And then you can leverage those points to book your flights and your hotels and your cars, all by you leveraging those points. And the key to travel hacking is by first accumulating enough points. And I have people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on their credit cards, and I'll optimize their spend for them. They don't really need credit optimization. They're going to earn the rewards regardless, right? But it's like the people who are spending 5, 10, 15,000 a month, you may not be earning enough rewards for it to be like a shit ton of credit card reward points to where it's like, okay, well, let's use the Amex Gold on this expense, so you're getting 4x the amount of points. All right, when you do travel, let's use the Platinum on here, and here's how you're going to pay for it. So we're making sure that you're getting 5 to 10x amount of points that you would be, right? So just using the right cards and the right expenses to 4x the amount of rewards that you're getting. And then from there, once you have the rewards, this is the biggest mistake that I see people make, especially ballers, is they have so many Amex Platinum, Amex Gold points that they're just straight up booking their hotels and flights right out of the Amex portal, completely throwing away their rewards. So the value of that is 1 point is equivalent to 1 penny, right? By using it that way. But if you're strategic on your credit card spend, you're going to earn 4 times the amount of points on average. If you're strategic on how you use your reward points when booking travel, our average is 8x. So we're 4xing here, and then we're 8x the value on our points when booking for travel. I've even 52x'd the value of my points. So just knowing what banks have credit cards that allow you to transfer, and then knowing what credit cards that you need within those banks, those 5 banks that are travel cards. And then knowing how to spend those cards specifically for your personal and business life and the expenses that you already have. And then knowing knowing the transfer partners of those credit cards. And then knowing the research to do when you want to book a trip, right? So for example, my wife and I do at least once a year, at least 1 month long trip. And this year, we weren't planning on this one specifically, but the power of travel hacking is being flexible, right? You're going to take the trip that is like the best bang for your buck. So we're doing England, Ireland, and Scotland for a month, flying first class, and it only cost me two seats, all first class, 195,000 points. You could go sign up for the Amex Platinum card right now, business card, and get 250,000 points if you spend $15,000. I saved $27,000 on just the flights. You see how there's the value there? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
oh, some people think, oh shit, but I still have to spend $15,000 on this credit card. I'm like, yeah, but you still have to spend $15,000 on your business.
Right.
You might as well get rewarded for it. So, and that's why it's so important. Like, there's a lot of people who don't have to have this, but it's there for you if you just implement it into the systems and the operations that you're already doing. And that's what I do, like my one-on-one clients. Of course, like I have the coaching side where I just teach literally everything that I know how to do in my program. I have like over 300 modules. It's insane, but I'm very direct to the point and very detailed. But like my one-on-one clients is it's simply, all right, let's make sure that you have the 740, 800 credit score. All right, let's make sure that your business is just as credible as you and you can leverage it. Let's make sure that you have those relationships and all the cards that you need on your personal side and the business side that align with your goals. Most of the time, it's travel. So I'm optimizing the spend for them. And then anytime they have a trip, like I have one client out in New York, he travels twice a week, twice a month, and but his expenses are large, so he can accumulate the points and rewards enough. So what we do is we basically build a whole itinerary for him based off of leveraging his rewards. So it's pretty fun, pretty fun. And it's all
Wow,
like
that's amazing.
big baller business owners, so they can afford to travel. They don't need me.
Yeah.
But again, investors and business owners, it's like, hey, for example, like Andy Elliott. Andy Elliott spends millions of dollars a year in travel. He pays for his team, right? You take his expenses, and like when I book his trips, he has enough reward points to go anywhere and everywhere forever for free, right? And that's a
Yeah.
lot of my clients. He's like, wait a minute, so you can save me, $500,000 a year in travel just by using the points? Yep. Don't even think about it. I'm just going to add another $500,000 in your bank account. Simple as that. That's the
Wow.
perspective you need to have when using credit cards and then traveling for free.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Wow, wow. I mean, you're getting paid to vacation just for having a business and spending what you would already. So that's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about, you know, okay, wholesaling still works today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like how you started back then, you got this, coaching program, and you eventually got started with credit, and that kind of helped you get up. I want you to give us your advice on how you would advise someone to start nowadays. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
like what coaching program would you tell them to join? Like, obviously you already told them like what credit cards to use, or how to get started, because I think success is very important nowadays, and it's because you get around the right people,
Mm-hmm.
and so if you were to do it all again and give someone that advice, like, how would you do it?
So even before the wholesale operation, one of the biggest mistakes I see is people focusing on just the wholesale first. I got to make money first, and then I'll focus on the credit. It's kind of ass backwards. I think it follows suit that I did, right? I was able to make $80,000 while I was homeless, but it was because I had credit first, and I was able to leverage that first. You can be in any situation in life, and as long as you're credible enough to go out and get that funding, it's available to you, right? And you don't have to walk into a bank. No one has to see you. No one has to know where you live or don't live. It's available to you as long as you're credible. And so that's why, to me, I will die on that stand saying that you have to focus on your personal credit first, and then of course you can like trickle into establishing your corporate credit and just dialing in that entire system. Yeah, the travel stuff is cool and whatnot, but as long as you have a good personal credit score, you will never miss out on an opportunity when it's presented. And that's one thing that I say is like credit is the key to unlocking doors to opportunities when none others are presented, right? And that's the power of having credit available to you, or capital or funding, whatever, at all times. So start there. And then once you have that, I would say 100 with the wholesale operation, just focus on your market, right? You know your market better than anything, and start with the boring marketing. Don't start with PPC, right? Just I go straight cold callers. Pull the list of your entire metro city, depending on the population. Go for the whole state. That's what I did, right? I did all of surrounding Tulsa and all of surrounding Oklahoma City, and we were doing $100,000 to $150,000 consistently in just Oklahoma a month, just from cold calling, for cold callers. Now that marketing, it's a one time. Once you have that list, you've skip traced it, great. Now you've got your cold callers, great. And that's the thing is in my community, it's 95% wholesalers and investors. So I actually have a resource. So it's so cool that you asked this. I don't know if I can share my screen, but I'd show it. I have a whole resource of wholesale partners that I recommend people to, right? As far as Investor Lift, Run It Remote with Eric Klein's cold callers, Mike Martinez with skip tracing and data skip IO. You've got PPL with hotlines or iSpeed to lead, and then PPC. I'd go learn it from Nick Perry, bring it in house. You've got your transaction coordination with David Olds, right? You have all these resources to really automate and master the whole game of wholesaling right there. Everyone's there. And that wasn't there when I first started. It was, I had Cody Sperber, but all this other new stuff wasn't created yet. All these people were focused on wholesaling and hustling, just like how I was. And then they created these resources. So the information that people have access starting today is 10x. Yeah, the competition is more, but if you're scared of competition, just go back to work.
Yeah. And how much do you charge for your credit lift program? How much is it? What's involved with it?
So right now we just charge annual. It's $1,998 a year. We do free webinars and stuff like that pretty often, about once a month. We have a 90-day challenge that's $998. I think if anybody is watching this and you just want to dive right into credit lift and get access to all the information that we have, just DM me, I don't know, some sort of keyword. Just put Castle. That way I know you came from Julian Castle, and then I'll just go ahead and hook you guys up at $998 for the annual. The benefit of that is you get access to everything, every module. I've got over 300 videos. You get all the resources. But I also do have the free community, right? And in the free community, I do monthly Q&A calls. We give away a lot of free resources. You get tons of value in every aspect of every topic that I talk about. So the personal credit, business credit, credit stacking, and travel hacking. You're going to learn a little bit about all of that before you even get into the paid. So if you're not sure about the paid, just go ahead and join the free one, which we could probably drop a link below. Just join the free one, get in there. Every single person that comes into the free one gets a one-on-one strategy call. Right? It's important that we know everybody that's coming in so we understand your situation, we understand your goals, and then we can really we can pull that apart and tell you exactly the process that you need to take to succeed along your credit and entrepreneurial journey, right? And it's that simple. Yeah, join the free and jump on that one-on-one call. It's free. And if you want to join, the paid and get instant full access to everything, just let me know where you came from, and I'll hook you up for $998 a year.
Nice. When are you going to finish those modules for the real estate part of this?
So it would definitely be within the next 60 days. I'm traveling a lot next month. I have a speaking event in Houston and Nashville, and then I live in Scottsdale part-time, Vegas full-time. So I'm back and forth quite a bit. So next month I have a lot of traveling that I'm doing, but we are rocking and rolling. The community is beautiful. We've had over 700 people come into the paid, and we've had it live for less than a year, and it's all been 100% organic, right? So no paid marketing or anything. It's very inclusive, one-on-one, and so that should be done along with how to establish credit as a foreigner. Because I have a lot of people from Canada, I have a few clients from Iran, I have some clients from New Zealand, and I help them establish, U.S. credit, and all you need is an ITIN on the personal side and a business EIN on the business side, and you can get access to all the credit that Julian and I can. And so it's like we're coming out with that module as well. And then another powerful tool is you have to stay ahead of the game with AI. And one thing that I realized that nobody is teaching on the internet, trust me, I already looked, is how to truly repair your own credit leveraging ChatGPT, right? Like
Oh wow.
credit repair companies are leveraging ChatGPT, right? But they're charging you monthly. The whole goal of Credit Lift is so that you, Julian, you never have to go to another credit repair company ever again. You never have to pay anybody for corporate credit establishment. You don't have to pay 10% of the amount of funding that you get access to because you used a funding company. That's highway robbery, in my opinion. You have all the blueprints right there to follow. And then you should never have to pay a travel concierge service ever again because you're going to learn exactly how to do it yourself. So what I'm creating is how to repair your own credit leveraging ChatGPT with every single prompt. You know, bringing in outside data, training your ChatGPT on the FCRA laws, everything CFPB, act as a credit repair specialist attorney, having persuasive language inside of the letters. Because the credit bureaus, they scan every single dispute letter through a software and algorithm they have. And if it spots that it's a repetitive template, like most credit repair companies do, it's just an automated template, no one's even looking at your credit, it will just completely ignore your disputes. So you can really leverage ChatGPT to avoid that happening. And of course, a few tips and tricks that I just know from being so experienced. Like for example, just last month, new VIP client, he got unexpected hit with late payments. Wasn't his fault. One letter, wiped out. Scores back in the 800, immediately rolling into funding. Right? It's a proven process, and now I just want to basically build that blueprint for people to follow. And then on top of that, the next phase is creating that in a sense to where other people can start their own businesses. So as of right now, I already have 10 or 11 previous clients that are now starting their own like credit repair service, funding company, and all that just from what they learned inside of Credit Lift. So it's like, well, I don't want you to half-ass it. So might as well build a module that literally teaches you how to create a business based off of everything you're learning here.
Oh wow, that's super cool. And for the record, are you still involved in real estate wholesaling, or have you completely shifted and you're doing the credit thing now full time?
Yeah, so not necessarily wholesaling, but more so capital raising. We're building a 360 unit apartment complex in Princeton, Texas, so suburbs of Dallas. So just more focused on raising capital for multifamily and commercial and buying businesses and stuff like that. And then, you know, I was talking to my team recently is like, as we're focused on the higher ticket items, I would just, my whole operation could be started with the push of a button. I would start it. But really the only purpose of starting it would be to have like use it as my marketing machine, right? Find those off-market multifamily deals. Yeah. And I'm in Vegas and Arizona now. So let's find my deals and so I can get them at 40 to 60 cents on the dollar versus 60 to 80 cents. Right. So I would really only turn it on as a marketing tool for myself.
Cool. And did you pick up any rentals throughout your career? Any properties?
Yeah. Yeah.
You did?
So, right. Yeah. And I have a funny story on my, so my very first sub 2 contract for deed, because we've done over 600 contract for deed deals, but my very first one, and this was before Pace Morby even had his program.
Can you explain what a contract for deed is for the audience listening?
Yeah. So a contract for deed is basically like you're acting as the bank. And you are basically financing the property for the back end buyer, and you're creating a contract. And once it's paid off, you get the deed, right? It's very similar to rent to own, but you're not renting. You actually own the property, and then the deed is signed over once it's paid off. And I think it'll be easier to understand when I kind of go through the flow of how I bought my first one and made a mistake. So it was a property in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This lady's job, she bought it like a few months prior, and then her job was sending her down to Dallas. And I only knew how to wholesale. I was like, well, I mean, I this deal wouldn't work. I mean, would you just let me just take over the mortgage payment? I never even heard of sub two before, and I
Oh
was just
yeah.
kind of just take over the mortgage payment and like call it good. And then reached out to some friends who like, hey, what do I do here? And they helped me draft up that specific contract and then kind of close the deal because he was able to run his own title search and everything like that. Everything checked out. Cool. I own this property sub two, and I'm like, well, shit. How do I make money? I need money now. And I'm like, what? Do I sell it? Wait, now I'm in her position. All right. So that's when I was like, well, how about this? How about I just like have somebody move in and take over my payments, but they have to pay like a $15,000 down payment. Ooh, okay, okay, cool. So I did that, found a buyer, they paid 15 grand and took over the sub two payments. The property is still in my name, of course, but I didn't realize that I was doing a sub two, and like Pace and them call it, it's a sub two wrap, right? It's a
Right.
subject to wrap around another mortgage. And that wrap is essentially a contract for deed. So, and how I made a mistake because I would be making hella cash flow on that right now, but I didn't think about, wait, what about monthly cash flow? I was just thinking about that quick 15 grand.
Right.
So what we did after realizing that was whatever interest rate that property is under. So you buy a property sub two for 4%, right? Great. Your payment is $700 a month. What you do is you're going to set up a contract for deed with a 20% down payment. Cool, $100,000 house. I collect 20,000 down. All right, but you're going to the new contract is going to state that they pay 10% interest. So here's your cash flow is what's between the 4 and the 10% interest. There's your cash flow every single month. And you got that 20% down payment. See, you're essentially acting as the bank. You are funding the property for them. And that's what we did in Oklahoma. We did over 600 properties, all contract for deed, because the marijuana boom was taking off. People were doing dispensaries and grow houses and whatnot. And the banks can't federally insure, the marijuana industry, so you can't really have a bank account, but they have a buttload of cash. Well,
Yeah.
they want homes. So essentially, what we did is cool. We aligned the back end financing with local banks and credit unions to just able to refinance over and over and over again and carry this large note. So essentially, as long as we came with 20% down, we're good. So what we did is we had these business owners with bad credit, no credit, whatever, but a lot of cash. Pick any house you want on Zillow, any house you want. You got 20%. As long as you have 20% down, we'll fund it for you. So our commercial interest rate would be like 6 to 8%, and then we charge them 10%. And then with that, it's like cool. We went ahead and stacked another like 5K assignment fee. So I just boom, an easy 5K. So again, going back to Oklahoma, that's why it was so easy for me to dispo so many deals. I didn't really have to think about the dispo because we had so many contract for deed buyers backed up on the back end.
Wow. I mean that's amazing. So you did 600 of these. So I'm pretty sure you're still getting paid from some of these deals. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Some
So
of them fall off. We don't try to keep people prisoner with the properties. So early payoff, it's fine. It's your house, you own it. Just as long as you make the payments, you pay it off, you're fine. But yeah,
right.
and then nationwide, when I went nationwide, I do see a lot of people buying properties nationwide, creative finance. And when we were running PPC, this was at the time I lived in Vegas, so more recently, I just didn't want any of them. I didn't want the headache anymore of like owning properties all over the country. A good friend Nick Perry, he does it. He has properties all over the freaking country, and I'm like, I'm too OCD. I need everything right here in order and in line. And so I was assigning, 5 to 10 sub two properties a month nationwide, and I didn't keep any of them. I started offloading all of my properties and really just focusing on capital raising for our fund.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. Amazing. Wow. Okay, so that's incredible. That's been a masterclass here. So, Scotty, I think this has been an incredible conversation. You've dropped some serious knowledge on how to leverage credit the right way and scale a real estate business. I mean, thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Of course.
To everyone listening, make sure you follow Scotty on Instagram at Scotty Tregellas and
Yeah.
check out his content for more insights. And where is that credit lift? What's the URL for that?
It is www.creditlift.vip. And of course, we'll drop a link to join the free community. Or you can just follow me on Instagram, Scotty Tregellas, ScottyTregellas, and then just DM me Lyft, and I'll shoot you a link to join the free community. Once you get in that free community, you're gonna get so much value there. You're gonna get a one-on-one call, and you're also going to see everything that's in the paid. Right. That way, you know exactly what you're getting, and then you can decide for yourself if it's even worth it for you or not. So there you go. Just
Okay,
DM me Lyft.
awesome. Cool. Scotty, any final words before we wrap up?
Take the risk. Take the risk. Life hits us with situations. You get burnout. First, take care of your mental health and your physical health. Keep God close. Make him the CEO of your life and your business, and everything will keep faith in yourself as well. Everything else will play out exactly how it should.
Let's go. Thank you for dropping some serious knowledge, Scotty. This has been a good one, and we will get back with you another time to talk more about credit for some of the audience members. Okay.